So Marathon. Marathon is where do I begin with Marathon? Marathon just can't seem to get things right. Uh, so here we go. So the company now holds 10,055 BTC directly after eliminating investment fund structure. Cash on hand was about 88.7 million, and total available liquidity was 153 million, which was good. So there's at least the good part here. The big thing is they did not provide easily attainable information for their June production. They had a lot of commentary here, so we'll have to kind of go through this a little bit. So here's measurement commentary. So in the second quarter, we continued to work through several operational obstacles as we progressed with installing miners in Texas in preparation of energization. In April and in May, our Bitcoin production was impacted by ongoing maintenance issues at the power generation facility in Hardin, Montana. And on June 11th, the situation obviously was exacerbated by a severe storm that passed through the region, damaging the power plant's cooling towers and leaving our miners, 30,000 miners in the region without power. The good thing is that those 30,000 miners represents about 75% of their active fleet. Well, that's obviously not the good thing, but the good thing is that they weren't damaged. So that's obviously a good thing there. If they got damaged, well, they would have gotten possibly an insurance claim and got paid out, but you were losing all that potential income there. So in Texas, despite multiple assurances that energization would occur in June, Compute North's energy provider is still awaiting federal agency confirmation of its exempt status for tax purposes based upon its arrangements with Compute North. So this is obviously frustrating for them and to obviously shareholders. Obviously, Marathon pumped today was up 20-some-odd%. And it might be based on what they reported here. So we'll look at that green part here shortly. But we're seeing the differences between how Marathon has gone through with their build out, where they're using a third party to do it, compared to like the other companies, Riot, CleanSpark, everybody else that does their own internal infrastructure, builds out, and gets miners installed. Those guys are having a lot less headaches, a lot less issues than Marathon right now is. So that's the problem with relying on third parties. You're kind of at their mercy right then, and to get everything done right and on time. So hopefully that gets resolved for them. That's just my little gripe here on Marathon. Okay, here's the good part. Obviously, we now have 29,640 miners representing approximately 2.9 exahash per second installed and ready for energization in Texas. Obviously, this would have been nice to get energized when they still had without any issues at the Hardin facility, but now it's obviously going to be an increase, but it's going to be less felt increase than it would have been otherwise had they been already operating at whatever they were supposed to be operating at. So this is obviously good. It's just a matter of time. Now, will it take only a month, or will it take 2 months or 3 more months to get that, status for tax purposes base exemption? Who knows? So that's obviously the tricky part there. Continuing on here, it is our understanding that the entirety of this facility, which will house approximately 68,000 of our miners, is still on track to be fully constructed with all miners installed by the end of the third quarter of 2022. So that's also obviously good there. And that's their Compute North's first major facility that they're talking about there. And let's see here, recent highlights. Okay, so obviously we talked about this here. Due to the storm, current operating mining fleet was reduced to approximately 6,300 active miners, producing approximately 700 petahash or 0.7 exahash. And BTC production was significantly reduced in June, with 140 self-mined Bitcoin produced during the month. Here's the thing. Obviously, they were operating for possibly 11 days that we know of that when the storm happened. So they were able to generate quite a bit. I think they were at like 2 point something exahash. We'll take a look at it. But they were obviously much higher, so they were able to generate that. Now, seeing that they're not going to be able to generate that over a full month of possibly July, unless magically they get the Hardin plant back up and running, they're operating at 0.7 exahash, or if they don't get the miners from Compute North energized, they're going to be at 0.7 exahash. That's going to be a huge hit in their production and profits or revenue for the month of July. So there's a lot of things obviously that had to go right for them in order to produce at least 140 BTC or more. Otherwise, you're going to be producing less, a lot less. Probably closer to maybe 10 or 4, no, probably closer to like 10 BTC maybe or something like that, or 14 based on 7 exahash. Some other good things. The company benefited from a downward market price adjustment for the 13,000 S919 XPs set to ship in July, and expects to see continued benefits of price adjustments as remaining XPs are shipped in August-December through the August-December timeframe. So that's obviously a good thing. The XPs were probably, what, 12,000, 13,000 when they originally purchased them. Obviously, prices have come down, so they are getting better prices, and the prices are getting adjusted on that. So that's actually a good thing. So they're spending less. The company also unwound its investment in NYDIG Digital Assets Fund, LL, or Fund 3, and they transferred approximately 4,769 BTC from the company's investment fund into the company's BTC wallet, which is also good. They got it off the exchanges or off the DeFi where they were earning yield on it, so that's good as well. So at least they weren't embattled with all that was going on with Voyager, Celsius, Three Arrows Capital, and all that. That would have really been bad had they lost almost 5,000 BTC. Total Bitcoin holdings are now 10,055 with a fair market value of 198 million, so it's a little bit more now because Bitcoin price has gone up. Given the elimination of the investment fund, all this Bitcoin is held directly as digital currency on the balance sheet, which is great. And the company repaid 35 million of outstanding revolving credit line borrowing during June 2022, reducing its outstanding balance to 35 million, which is also good. And Harden updates, miniaturization installations, we kind of dove into that already. And Bitcoin production, we went over that. So you can see they are very up and down as far as production is concerned right now. And that's tough, right? If you're investing in Marathon, you're kind of banging your head a little bit right now, hoping that they get things figured out. All right, so let's take a look at Marathon, and then we'll take a look at Sphere lastly. So Marathon, 106 million shares outstanding. Price is at 7. Obviously, price pumped nicely today. It was up 20-some%. Market cap of 745 million. 39% is institutionally owned with 336 institutions. 52-week high was $83. We are obviously far, far away from that. And 52-week low was $5.20. So we've just recently had that low there. Looking at current hash rate, so this is where they were. They were at 3.9. I'm still using this because I'm hoping that they get these figured out. Otherwise, I got to do some major adjustments to my spreadsheet here. But I have them at 3.9. Obviously, they're at 0.7 right now. Future hash rate is expected to be 23 exahash. And right now, this would represent 16% being operational. But if they're at 7 petahash, there's 700 petahash right now. That would be like being installed 1% or something like that, or 2% roughly from where they were in the beginning of June. Average hash rate per miner is about 105, which is great. BTC HODL is obviously 10,055, so that's 217 million right now at the current Bitcoin price. HODL to market cap ratio is 29% of the market price, is basically their HODL value right now. And each share has about $2.05 worth of HODL in it, if you want to look at it that way. Production-wise, we've talked about this a little bit on their BTC. We can see that they had 462 in January, 360 in February, 436. Wow, that should be 430. That should not be that. It should be that should be much, much lower. That should be 361.1. I got to fix that really quick. Let me see here. Marathon 436.1. There we go. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. 299 in April, 267 in May, 140. We're seeing this consistent downward production rate, basically, in BTC from them. Like I said, hopefully they can get this turned around. So, right now, if we use this number, which we shouldn't be using probably this number because they're at 700 petahash. I'm not even going to go by that. They're just way off there right now on BTC per petahash. Monthly difference obviously is way down, and they did sell, based on what I'm seeing here, they sold about possibly 26 BTC. They had 9,441 reported at the end of May. June, obviously, 10,055. So it looks like they possibly sold 26, possibly, which is $521,000. And that is it for the monthly stats. For the monthly stats, we're looking at approximately for June only 2.7 million right now. Might be a little bit higher depending on how you calculate Bitcoin on daily, on weekly, on monthly. I'm using the end of month price, and it is obviously a big hit on their quarterly revenue to 22 million possibly from 52 million of the first quarter. So that's 50% down from where they were. So that's a big hit right there. looking at the miners, obviously the miners, I just basically for June got them down to about 8.5 days of mining at 3.9 exahash to get them to that 2.7 million roughly that we had there. And institutions wise, we did have one increase over the prior month and a little bit of increase in shares as well as percentage owned. So 39.41% owned. We still have 3 strong buys, 5 buys, 1 hold, and a price target of 35. So that's actually a huge decrease from 54. And for the high, $20.87 for the average and $7 for the low. So obviously analysts are looking at their current troubles that they're having and they are discounting them pretty heavily right now. So let's take a look at where I have them. I mean, obviously right now with the current price at $7.01, they're trading at about, let's take a look at it. 7.1, they're trading about 5.5 or so PE. So we're looking right now at about 91. We're looking at about 183 million in revenue in the last 3 quarters in this quarter. So that's obviously going to be a decrease from, I think that's going to be a decrease from what they had prior. Yeah, it's obviously got to be less. So we're looking at 75% net income from gross revenue of 137 million. With the price to earnings, we're looking at $6.48 at PE 5. But if they can actually pull this off and get all the miners up and running, but by the end of the year, like they're hoping to, I could easily see them being at 20 PE, if not higher, depending on where Bitcoin is at. So we're looking at 25.91, which is kind of in line with 35. 20 is the average. So we're on the little higher side, but obviously if Bitcoin starts pumping, we don't know. We could go up to a 25 PE where they were before. I think their highest was around 25, 30 PE multiple last year when they were at $80 some. So we could be at $32.38, even more, depending on what Bitcoin does. All right. So bad month for Marathon. They just can't catch a break on this stuff. Unfortunately, we'll keep covering them, see where they end up next month. I'm hoping that they get better. I keep saying that every month, but it seems like every month they get worse. So we'll see where they end up next month in July, obviously. But right now, it's not looking good for them. Wish them all the best. Hopefully they can get everything sorted out. So still way undervalued, in my opinion, from where they're going to be if they get things sorted out.